Hello, Dayton. Welcome once again to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. So glad to be here, Tim. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing very well.
Great. We talk about the Retirement Blueprint a lot, every single week on the program. It's something that you founded and put together, but there's a very, very big element that, if you don't mind, I think we should dedicate this program to, and that's the estate planning element. Now, there are some folks out there who might say, well, I don't have an estate. I've got my asset. I've got my things I saved. Who out there in Dayton does need to do estate planning?
Well, Spike, everyone has an estate, right? If you have stuff, you have an estate. And your stuff is supposed to go to someone. So everyone has a need for estate planning. Unfortunately, only about 70% of Americans decided they don't have a need for estate planning.
Okay, all right.
We have 70% of the people in one of the wealthiest countries in the world that have no plan at all, which in Ohio means that you've decided that your Ohio legislature that you either voted for or didn't vote for is going to decide how everything you worked your entire life for is going to be distributed.
Wow. Okay. Well, I can see why it is so important today for us to go through this estate planning program. Of course, there are many different things that are inside the estate plan. So, folks, please stay tuned. There's lots of different things we're going to cover in here. The first thing I'm going to ask Tim about right now is, if I've got a will, don't I have this covered?
No.
Okay. Moving on.
What's next on your list, Spike? No. I mean, a will is a death document. That's basically what it is. Basically, a will is when I die, I'm going to guarantee that I go to probate and let the court system wade through my stuff. That's what it is. Let me start out. Let's back up one.
Yeah. Well, how did the court just get involved? What happened?
Right. Let me define what estate planning is.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Let's start there. Estate planning is this. It's a lifelong process where we take care of the ones that we love, both when we're living and we pass away. It gives what we want to who we want, when we want, the way we want, with the least amount of fees possible.
All right, I'm going to ask you to do that one more time.
One more time. Okay. I've done this before. The lifelong process, that's the key part of this.
Right.
It's not an event. People are not buying documents. This is a lifelong process where you take care of the ones that you love when you're alive and after you've passed away, and we'll get to the when you're alive part because that's key.
That's big, yeah. A lot of folks don't want to retitle assets or give the home away. Mom's worried if she's going to be able to stay living there. All kinds of things. So I'm also going to ask you to do the same thing. Let's start kind of on a baseline. Documents.
Right.
You're making it sound to me like I need a lot more than a will.
You do, and so the first thing that we look at is they're called advance directives. That's an attorney term, but basically they're my rules of the road. If I can't do certain things, who's going to do them for me? We start off with a power of attorney. There's two of those. There's a healthcare power of attorney, and then there's a financial power of attorney. Now, they don't have to be the same person. So a lot of times when we're meeting with clients, we'll just simply ask them, hey, your financial power of attorney, who's that? That's somebody that's good with money. They've got a good handle on things. They do a good job with their own bills. When you're looking at, 2 or 3 of your kids, one of those kids pops out as that's John. John's really good with money and he's done a really good job of saving. The healthcare power of attorney doesn't have to be the same person because the healthcare power of attorney is somebody that's level-headed. Maybe they have a medical background, but not necessarily, but they can make good decisions under pressure when things are emotionally charged. They can make the right choice for mom and dad.
And it sounds here like mom and dad really should be having conversation. These aren't people that you should choose for your financial directive, your medical directive, without them knowing about it, right?
Exactly. Not only that, Spike, they should have a copy of it. One of the biggest mistakes that we see with these documents that we're going to talk about is that they're in a binder somewhere, or they've put them in a safety deposit box or in their safe at home, and nobody knows where they are. That doesn't do them any good.
Right.
If I'm in the hospital and I need a piece of paper and my kids don't know where it is, what good's that going to do? So if you have chosen one of your kids to be your power of attorney, they need a copy of the power of attorney. We even go as far as to say digitalize it. Have it on your phone. Have it be something that you can push a button and send to the hospital. So that's the power of attorney side. The next thing we have is that living will. Simply put, it's the unplug me or don't unplug me paper, right?
Okay.
It's if I am being kept alive by a machine, do I want that machine to be turned off if there's no chance of me recovering?
Right, right.
Spike, this is not a decision to make your kids make.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
It is not.
These are things that you already know in your heart, that I already know in my heart, what I would and would not want done.
Yes.
Let's not put this on the kids. And if you've got 2 or 3 kids, imagine the conversation that's going to go on between and the angst and the worry of what are we supposed to be doing here. And folks, I know these might be uncomfortable conversations that we're talking about here, but you can do this once or twice and have it done with, and your family will know exactly what you want.
Right.
Going on from, so that's the living will. I've got another minute here. What's maybe another document before we go out to break?
The HIPAA form. So we're all familiar with HIPAA. If we've ever been to the doctor's office, we know that they will not give out any information unless we show our ID, right? And so doctors are scared to death today of being sued. And so they are not going to give out any information unless you put in writing who's allowed to receive that information. So again, this is a document that the doctors need to have on file, as well as the individuals that are named on that HIPAA form, so that they can get information on mom and dad. And that doesn't have to be your kids. It can be friends, family, neighbors, people that you care about, that if you're hospitalized, can get information about you.
It sounds clearly like you know a lot about estate planning. I know, though, that you're not an attorney. How is it that you and your firm are so well versed in estate planning?
Well, I have read a lot of John Grisham books.
Me too.
So
me too.
I love John Grisham, but no, I have not been to law school. But we have an attorney in our office that has, and she is specialized in estate planning, and this is all she does. And so when we have that conversation with a client, it's not me having that conversation, it's our attorney that's licensed to be able to give advice in those areas.
But once again, you're that financial executor putting all of these pieces together into the retirement blueprint. We have to take a very quick break. If you don't mind, Tim, I'm going to tell the folks about your retirement blueprint. Folks, make sure you get your own complimentary retirement blueprint. Today, we are talking about estate planning, but it concerns so much more than that. It takes a look at your investments, your tax strategy, other health care needs, legacy planning, of course, as we're talking about estate planning here. And it is complimentary to the viewers right here in Dayton. All you have to do is call the phone number you see right here, 855-684-3485. We will continue talking about estate planning and the retirement blueprint and how it applies to you and what are the most important factors you need to protect you, your spouse, and your own family right after this break.
Hi, I'm Tim Lofton, and for 27 years, we've been helping people just like you navigate to and through retirement with our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Many of our clients are extremely concerned today with the increasing federal debt and the potential for a significant increase in taxes. If you share these or other retirement concerns, give us a call today for a no-obligation complimentary consultation. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Welcome back, Dayton, to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. The Retirement Blueprint is the strategy that you are the founder of. You created it. It puts together all of your retirement planning needs. But today, we're spending a great focus on what we need to do as far as estate planning. Right before the break, we were talking about documents. I'd like to let you continue that. Obviously, we know we need a will, but you're saying that doesn't cover it all. Because that can still be public, go into probate. We're talking about directives, both medical and financial. What else are we leaving off the table?
Well, and just to understand the will and kind of why a trust makes sense, because a lot of times when we talk, everybody needs a will, okay? So you have to have that as part of your plan. It's just that we don't actually want the will to do what the will is supposed to do. And I'll talk about that in just a second.
Say that again?
Let me back up and tell you what the will forces to happen.
Okay.
It forces the county you live in to put every piece of information about everything you owned on a public website. So for those of you who wondered what your neighbors had when they passed away, you can actually get on the county website and look at it. Nobody wants that. We're private people when it comes to our stuff. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is a will guarantees probate. And there's a cost to probate, and that's kind of the scare tactic, I think, in attorney world is, oh my gosh, you're going to have to pay, 5% of the estate value out. That's not the big picture, okay? The big picture is that I don't want to open up a lawsuit guaranteed that allows somebody to come and contradict what I put in my will. And that's the environment that you create when you open up a probate estate and notify everybody. The law, you already...
So you could have anywhere, well, creditors are a different thing, but you could have, I don't know, somebody from a used car dealership say, hey, he never paid off his loan, or this or that. I mean, just so many different people could come in because now it's been made public.
Correct.
They say, oh, look at how much money was in there. You're saying it actually invites being sued?
It does, and it invites, that one family member that you actually purposely excluded from your will. It gives them a platform to come in and say, hey, that was a mistake. Maybe mom and dad weren't.
I gave them, $5,000 a little while ago to help out with the business, and they never paid me back.
Right, exactly. And so we want to avoid that. We avoid that with a trust. Now, when I say the word trust, it's like saying the word car. Okay, I mean, there's a million different types of trust, but typically in this context, we're talking about a revocable living trust. That is key, it's revocable. That means you can change your mind, Spike.
Okay.
That means that you can decide who you want to give things to today and then say tomorrow, you know what, I no longer want little Johnny to be getting my car, I want that to go to Susie. And so it is revocable. The other thing is it bypasses probate. So the very thing that we were worried about with a will, it eliminates that from happening. Then in the will, we put in what's called a pour-over provision. It basically says, if I pass away and I didn't put something in my trust, oops, I messed up, and it pours over anything that was in the will into the trust and protects all of those assets to make sure they bypass probate.
Because that was something that I had read online, was saying make sure that you place your assets into your trust. Otherwise, again, it goes back to the probate. This pour over I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
You must have gotten this from your attorney inside the office.
Well, I've sat through 30 years of estate planning meetings. So the idea here is, when the trust is created, you're supposed to retitle your assets. Okay, that's and
let's slow that down real quick. So we went from having the will, and we've got our assets. Does this include our home, our cars, the investments? Everything is supposed to get titled into the trust?
It depends on the asset, and that's really where the estate planning attorney is going to get involved to decide what needs to be retitled, get things retitled that need to be retitled. But here's the thing, a lot of people get worried that it's going to mess up their control of those assets, and it doesn't. You just go from the Tim Lofton account to the Tim Lofton trust account. They're just changing the title on it. They change the title on your checks, but at the end of the day, it's still your money. You're still spending it. You still have control over it. It's just allowing the protection that a trust gives us. It allows that wrapper to kind of go around your assets to protect them.
Right. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into the woods here. Maybe you can explain. Because what you're talking about is a revocable trust. There are some instances, though, where people have used an irrevocable trust.
Yes.
And what would be the advantage of that?
Well, because we're a retirement-only practice, we probably do an irrevocable trust once a month, once a week. So
Really?
the purpose of an irrevocable trust, in most cases, is we're trying to protect assets from a nursing home. And so the way the Medicaid laws are in the state of Ohio, if you put assets into an irrevocable trust, after 5 years, it's as if they didn't exist. That's the good news. The good news is I just protected everything I put in that irrevocable trust from the nursing home. The thing that people don't like about an irrevocable trust is, unlike the irrevocable trust, I lose control. So they're no longer my assets. That's how it works. For me to be able to tell the nursing home I don't have any money, I can't actually have any money. And so I'm giving up my rights to those dollars, but when I put them in the irrevocable trust, my trustee is now in charge of those assets. Now I can hire and fire my trustee. Usually it's going to be one of my kids or maybe a couple of my kids. And so I don't want to say that you don't have any control, but at the end of the day, those assets technically no longer belong to you.
So the trust has got to be put in the hands of somebody you trust.
That's exactly right.
All
well,
right.
Well said.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to wrap. This is incredible stuff, but it really gives me a peace of mind knowing that there's a lot of these tools out there, but more importantly, there's somebody like yourself who can help us put it together. I'm going to have to take a little bit of a break right now, but kind of big picture. We just talked about the documents, possibly putting together a trust. Are we all set then with estate planning, or is there more to come?
No. Well, remember my definition, Spike. It's a lifelong process. So you get your documents, you have done the estate planning event, now we get to do life together. Because as we've talked about in previous shows, legislative change. If the state of Ohio changes the rules, if the federal government changes the rules, it's going to change our need in the documents. And so the documents a lot of times are going to be amended to take in the new laws and the new rules. The key is that you have somebody picking up the phone and calling you to let you know that happened. And unfortunately, with a lot of places don't do that. You know, the laws change. If you don't call your attorney and say, hey, I haven't updated my estate plan in 10 years, should I? They're like, well, yeah, 5 years ago would have been a great time because they changed the laws. So you have to have that proactivity and the outlook that this is a lifelong process.
Right. Tim, we're talking about estate planning today, but can you tell folks how that applies inside the retirement blueprint before we take off the
Sure.
break?
You know, the estate plan is 1/5 of the retirement blueprint. We have the income plan, the tax plan, the health care, long-term care plan, and the wealth management plan. The estate plan is kind of what wraps around the rest of it. All of these pieces are a key component to a successful retirement. That's why we created the retirement blueprint.
When we get back, Tim is going to tell us how many Americans do or don't have their own retirement and estate plan in place. So get your own complimentary retirement blueprint right here by calling 855-684-3485. More of the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton right here in Dayton when we get back right after this.
Unexpected events, like a global pandemic, can turn our world upside down overnight. They can cause volatile shifts that may cause you to question the confidence in your current retirement plan. As a retiree or a pre-retiree, knowing you have a plan that can withstand the worst economic conditions is vital. Contact us today for a complimentary review. Get a second opinion and learn more about our trademark process, the Retirement Blueprint. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, Dayton, to the Retirement Blueprint Show with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. Of course, we're talking about the Retirement Blueprint that Tim has founded, put together, author of, broadcaster of as well, but more importantly, you are a financial planner right here in Dayton. And I'm really enjoying that today you're talking about the specific element of the blueprint, estate planning. So how many folks actually come into the office and have any kind of version of estate planning done?
About 30%. About 30% of Americans have done some type of plan. It could be as little as a simple will. Because, I mean, in the state of Ohio, you can handwrite your will and sign it and say, hey, I want all my stuff to go to my son and sign it and have it notarized, and that is a legal binding document. That's not the way I would do it, but indeed it is a plan. So of that 30% that actually have a plan, less than half of them actually have a complete estate plan.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about some of the solutions here, because that's really what you do with the firm. Documents in place. What kinds of things can you do with this? I mean, so we're talking about the irrevocable. Is this so mom or dad can stay in the house as they live into their 90s? Is this so you can have help in managing the investments? Why exactly? I mean, I know the privacy's sake for the trusts. Are there other advantages to using a trust?
Yeah, all the things that you just described, Spike. I mean, I said earlier about while you're living and after you've passed away, when I was talking about the estate planning. Yeah. Remember, if you don't have an estate plan at all, and you are incapacitated and you don't have a spouse or anybody to take care of you, that creates living probate. That's where you basically go to the court and have a guardian assigned by the court for you. Nobody wants that, right? I mean, the idea that somebody's going to take care of my stuff and take care of me that doesn't even know me, I mean, that's a horrible plan.
Right, right. So how exactly would this then apply to a general consumer? I know the advice that you give has to be very specific to the situation, but talk to Dayton out there. What exactly can you do with this retirement blueprint by setting up an estate plan? What kind of peace of mind does it provide?
Well, it is going to give you that definition. It's going to give you a lifelong process of taking care of the ones that you love. It's going to give what you want to who you want, when you want, the way you want, with the least amount of fees possible. And fees are a consideration. A lot of times people are scared off by the idea, well, if I get a trust, it's going to be super expensive. You know, our revocable trust and those advanced directives are like $1,250. I mean, if a person has a $100,000 estate, they're going to pay $5,000 in costs in the court just with probate.
That right there was something I didn't know. So just that alone. So you might be looking at the cost actually of what it is to set up a trust, but you're going to be going through that in probate anyway, so you might as well set up the trust and keep it private.
You're going to save money, and things are going to go the way that you want them to go. And the problem is, I think a lot of times there's attorneys out there that, not estate planning attorneys, that have actually told clients, they've come in, they said, well, I talked to my attorney, he said I don't need a trust. I can just do it with, you know, a transfer on death or, you know, beneficiaries on my IRA, and it'll take care of everything. But it doesn't. It doesn't take care of everything. That's horrible advice.
Right. All right. So another thing on that, trying to save $1 or $2 as we're in retirement, can we fix it on our own? Aren't there so many different downloadables today and online lawyer forms that we can use by paying $5 or $10 here and there?
You can go to LegalZoom and you can create a trust. If that's how you would handle your brain surgery, if you would shop it to the least expensive surgeon out there to do your brain surgery, then have at it. But for the money that you're going to save, Spike, we fix attorneys' estate plans that were put together by people who say they know what they're doing, and they're done wrong. Imagine what LegalZoom is going to do for you. And how much are you going to save? You know, $500, $600?
Probably going to get a couple of phone calls from LegalZoom right now.
Am I not allowed to talk about them?
You know, no, but it's true. But no, what you're saying is, yeah, it's like anything out there. I could do my own retirement calculator. I can do my taxes online. I hope that I get it right. But the more complicated the situation is, the more difficult it is to know if I'm pulling the correct levers. So I agree with you. I would rather not be doing it there. So let me take it a step further then. How can working with a professional help insure? Is this just a way to get somebody to come into the office to sit down with a professional, or are you actually going to be taking a look at everything that they need to be doing so they don't make any wrong turns?
Well, we're going to look at everything. I mean, the estate plan, first of all, is not the place to save money. Of all the places for you to save money, an estate plan is not the place to do it, because it's not that expensive in the first place. But understand that the estate plan, just like every other subject we talk about on the show, is not the be-all and end-all. You know, it's one piece of the pie. And so for somebody to come in and say, okay, I just want help with my estate plan, is short-sighted. Because there's all the other aspects of tax planning and wealth management that also need to be addressed as part of that estate planning conversation.
Well, so we spent the majority of today's program talking about this estate plan, but again, you are the founder of the Retirement Blueprint. Tell me again just about a couple of those things that are in the totality of the Retirement Blueprint and what you can do for the folks here in Dayton if they call into this phone number right here.
Sure. So the estate plan, obviously, we've talked the whole show about, but we're also going to create an income plan. We're going to look at risk. Our wealth management team is going to look at what you're currently doing and what your risks are with how you have your money invested. We're going to look at things like long-term care. We're going to look at your tax plan and how that's impacted by your 401k and IRAs and that income that the government's going to make you take out at 72. All of those things go into that process to give you a complete picture and a roadmap to your retirement.
Thank you, Tim, for talking about estate planning today. And of course, one last thing about these trusts and putting this all together is leaving that legacy of your own name for your family, for yourself out there, and making sure that your assets work the way you want to, whether they stay with your family or the community or your faith and your church, by being able to do what you want to do. Thank you so much. Folks, make sure that you get your own complimentary retirement blueprint by calling 855-684-3485. Thank you for watching the Retirement Blueprint with Tim Lofton. I'm your host, Spike Spengel. We'll be back again next week.